Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. Jackie Boy's got a sports show, and you are tuning in to that sports show. How you doing? How's your week been? You probably haven't tuned into the last few podcasts, so I got to say, how's your week been? How was the weekend? We got a good slate of games coming up this weekend for Jackie Boy Predicts number 4. And I got a couple announcements before we start the podcast. For the ones watching, you may see that I'm holding the microphone and not up to the mic stand. That is because I think, let me spin it over here. I think I stripped the thing that holds the microphone to the mic stand already, which is pretty sick because it was not tightening down. So we are just holding the microphone up to my face. I might just keep doing this. Even though if I move it too much away, you won't be able to hear me as much. So we'll keep it going. We'll keep it. We'll just go. We'll just go. Of course, as always, follow the show, Jackie Show on Twitter. Also follow my personal Twitter at jjesser615. Follow me on TikTok, Jackie Boy Sports. Rate the show, share the show where you can. Really, really appreciate it. Really trying to make this work. And watch on YouTube, same name as the podcast. The link is usually in the description. And finally, I've said it on the past 2 shows, I got to say it in this show. This weekend, I am getting married. Your boy is getting married. I'm already wearing the ring for those of you in the video. I'm getting married tonight, actually. So I'm not going to be watching a lot of football. At the very least, not a lot of college football this weekend. I'll still see the scores, probably watch some highlights. So next week, I might, with the weekend recap podcast, I might just make that kind of like talking about news, especially now with a lot of stuff going on at Michigan. I have a lot of thoughts about the stuff going on in Michigan right now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I might still watch all of NFL football because a lot of stuff we're doing will probably be done by Sunday. But we'll see. We'll see. And I hope you enjoy this episode of Jackie's Got the Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in to that sports show. And right off the bat, we're starting off with college football. And unfortunately, we have some bangers in college football. We have Penn State going to Ohio State. We have Tennessee, Alabama. We have Duke, Florida State, which could turn into a really good game. And then we have Utah, USC, which can be a really, really good game. And the game of the week is going to be Penn State, Ohio State. So we're going to leave that to last. And we're going to start with Tennessee going to Tuscaloosa, going into Alabama to face the Crimson Tide. Both teams had a lot of expectations coming in. Both teams kind of failing those expectations. Of course, the committee favoring Alabama a lot more than Tennessee. And here's some facts we need to know about this historic matchup. Tennessee snapped a 15-year losing streak last season. Rocky Top, you'll always be home, sweet home to me. I was so hyped when that happened. I was watching. I actually had a Halloween party that day. So I had a group of friends watching the game. All were hyped. Alabama missed a field goal. Then we went down and kicked a field goal. That game, by the way, when Hendon Hooker missed that handoff and Alabama returned it for a touchdown, I was like, here it is. Usually the past couple of years, there's always been one play. It's like the New England Patriots. Every time they lost the Super Bowl, they usually had a phenomenal catch, right? Each time with Alabama, the past couple of years before that, it felt like there was always one play where Tennessee really messed up. I think a couple of years before that, Jared Guantanamo, however you say that dude's name, he fumbled on the goal line and Alabama returned it for a touchdown. There's always one play that stamps in Alabama's win over Tennessee, and it hurts every time. And I was like, here it is. But we came back. We won, and I was hyped. And, of course, Jalen Hyatt had his big game. That was a great, great team, great, great game. As I said, Alabama's looked very shaky this season, but Tennessee really has not looked any better. And the matchup we are really, really watching, right? Everybody was hyping up Tennessee's pass game because of Josh Heupel, what Josh Heupel can scheme up in the pass, which fair enough. Tennessee can do a lot passing the ball, but they don't have the weapons they had last year. They lost Cedric Tillman and they lost Jalen Hyatt in the draft. They don't have the weapons on the outside. But what they do have is the run game. Alabama is number 18th in the country in rush defense, which isn't bad. It really isn't. There's 100 and some college football teams that are ranked in terms of offense and defense, right? 18th, top 20, not bad, but it's also not the best, especially when you're facing a Tennessee offense that is sixth in rushing offense, especially when you're facing a Tennessee offense that has Dylan Sampson, who is averaging over 6 yards a carry, Jalen Wright, who is averaging over 7 yards a carry, and Jabari Small, who is averaging over 5 yards a carry. Three backs, all averaging phenomenal yards a carry. I think Alabama's going to struggle to stop this rushing offense. They really need to have Joe Milton beat them, and that's possible. If Alabama stuffs the run, which is very possible, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's very possible. I don't think Joe Milton can beat this team. I don't have a lot of faith in Joe Milton. Now, on the other side, Alabama really does not have a dynamic offense. I mean, Jalen Milroe, he can throw the ball deep, and he can throw the ball deep very well, but it's not amazing. And Tennessee is the 17th ranked overall defense. It's not a phenomenal defense. And I think at times they can give up a lot, but it's still the 17th ranked defense. So with all this being said, the big matchup I'm looking at is Alabama's 18th rush defense versus Tennessee's 6th rush offense. I think Tennessee wins this game 27-20. Now let's move on to Florida State at Duke. Stuttered a little bit. Now, Florida State is struggling against average and good ACC teams, Boston College and Clemson being one of them. And Boston College isn't even average. And what I'm looking at, or rewind a second. Duke has the 16th total defense, while Florida State has the 24th overall offense. They do have Jordan Travis, though, and Jordan Travis is an X factor. Jordan Travis can take over a game. Jordan Travis can be that guy when Florida State needs it. And, of course, Florida State has the 57th overall defense versus Duke's 72nd overall offense. Duke is a team that plays very good defense, and their offense just plays good enough. And that's a problem when it comes to Florida State, for the reason that you have Jordan Travis, who no matter what no matter what the Florida Saints offense is looking like, Jordan Travis can pull something out, right? And Keon Coleman, who I feel in the grand scheme of all receivers isn't talked about a lot. He's talked about some. I think that a lot of people acknowledge, it'd be silly for me to say nobody acknowledges him as a top receiver in the country, but I don't think he gets as much love as he really should. This guy is phenomenal. Him and Jordan Travis have a great chemistry. They can take a game over, and for that, I think Florida State wins 35-20. I have it on my interesting games because I could see an upset. Because Florida State struggles against the ACC, I could see an upset. Now let's move on to some Pac-12 football, which is the most fun football. I apologize if this is making a lot of noise. I forgot to put my headphones on, so I can't really monitor the sound. Pac-12 football, which the Pac-12 is arguably the best conference in the country this season. USC coming off an embarrassing loss against Notre Dame in Notre Dame. Caleb Williams throwing for 3 interceptions, which worries me because the strength of Utah is their defense. It's not their offense. They still don't have Cam Rising. Without Cam Rising, this Utah offense is barely competent, right? They're fine. Nate Johnson can do fine, but not really, being that now they're having to swap between 2 quarterbacks. This game is going to come down to, does Utah have a good enough offense to put points on the board and not tire out their defense? Because Utah has a great defense, and Caleb Williams struggles against great defenses. That's just the case, right? Any quarterback struggles against the Utah defense. Utah is a great defense. I don't know how many times I got to say it. Utah Utes have a good defense. The problem is I don't believe in their offense. And just like with Notre Dame last week, I told y'all that Notre Dame is going to run the football and their defense is going to play good enough to where they can just keep the ball in Sam Hartman's hands, in that backfield's hands, and they will just control time of possession and win that game. Now, I didn't predict Caleb Williams to throw 3 interceptions, and I think that's the case right now. I think USC wins this game 45-23, but if USC goes down by multiple possessions because Caleb Williams is struggling against this Utah defense, the Utah Utes are going to win, and that's just that. That is just that. So to recap my college football picks, we have. Oh, I didn't even go over Penn State, Ohio State. I didn't even go over the game of the week. What are we talking about? Game of the week, Big Ten football. Penn State going to the Horseshoe, going to Ohio State to face Ohio State. Obviously, they're not going to the Horseshoe to face name Baylor. That's a Big 12 school. Both undefeated, both struggling against lesser competition. Penn State struggled a bit with Illinois and West Virginia. Ohio State struggled a bit with Indiana and Maryland. James Franklin, and this is the big story about this weekend. James Franklin, Penn State's coach, Penn State's head coach, really struggles on the road. 2-11 versus top 25 teams, 0-9 versus top 10 teams, and 1-11 versus top 5 teams. And the most important record when it comes to James Franklin, 1-8 versus Ohio State. He's beaten them before, but he's lost a lot more than he's won. What are some other factors that go into this game? Penn State has the number 1 defense in the country. Penn State is the number 1 defense in the country. Ohio State could only put up 17 points against the number 14 defense in the country in Notre Dame. Penn State has not faced close to what Ohio State in offense. Rewind. Let's rewind that sentence. Penn State has not faced a defense close to Ohio State's, though, and barely has a top 40 offense, right? And that's the big story. I think Ohio State's offense is going to struggle against this Penn State defense. I think this Penn State defense is for real. You can argue competition. You can argue who they faced. But also, you can argue that for a lot of teams that aren't ranked number 1 in total defense. You know what I'm saying? But they don't have a dynamic offense, and Ohio State's defense plays very well. Ohio State's defense plays very well, very fast, very physical. That being said, I think this is a low-scoring game. I think this is a very defense-minded game, and Ohio State looks shaky. I'm going Penn State to go into the Horseshoe and upset Ohio State 20-17. And Penn State might just buy their ticket into the college football playoff, which will be very, very exciting. And hey, Jim Harbaugh finally got over the hump of beating Ohio State. I know James Franklin has done it before. He's going to do it again. So to recap my college football picks for this Saturday, we have Penn State going over Ohio State 20-17. We have Tennessee going over Alabama 27-20. We have Duke going over, or no, we don't. No, we don't. We have Florida State going over Duke 35-20. And then we have USC going over Utah 45-23. Severe upset alert on that game. Now let's move to the NFL. Don't have a lot of interesting games, and I'm going to be honest, and I don't know, y'all can tell me, and this is going to be the promo clip for TikTok. I'm having a lot more fun keeping up with college football than I am the NFL. And maybe you say, Jack, it's because the Titans suck. Tennessee's not doing that hot either. Tennessee does not look that great either. But I'm having a lot more fun talking about and covering college football than I am the NFL. Let me know what y'all think. Comments, stitches, duets, you know how it goes. That's my thing on TikTok, if you don't know. And for those of you on TikTok, pod, let me know. Pod, tweet at me, at JJester615. So let's get into these NFL picks. Starting with tonight, Thursday night football. The Jaguars going to New Orleans. What are some facts we need to know about this game? The Jags are on a roll right now. Coming off a big win against the Bills, a couple weeks ago, and following that by dominating the Colts. Granted, the Colts were without Anthony Richardson. It's not that hard to dominate Gardner Minshew after Gardner Minshew has played a little bit. And the Saints, the story about the Saints is their defense is very good. The Saints defense is a very, very good defense. However, their offense sucks. I believe their offense has put up more than 20 points one time this season. One time. And you have Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara is back. You have Chris Olave. Michael Thomas is playing a healthy season. Rashid Shaheed is playing great, is a great deep threat. I don't get. How is this offense not putting up 28 points a game? This offense has so much talent. Does it come down to Derek Carr? Is this the next, like, he's just slightly better than Matt Ryan of the Colts? When everybody was like, oh, the Colts finally got a quarterback. The Colts are going to be great because they got a quarterback. And then Matt Ryan completely fell flat on his face. Now, Derek Carr is having a better season than Matt Ryan did in Indianapolis. I don't think that's arguable. But you're falling flat. And I'm a Derek Carr guy. Everybody was hating on Derek Carr. I thought Derek Carr was fine. He had his MVP season in 2016, where if he made the playoffs, the Raiders were a scary team in the playoffs, and he would have probably won MVP until he broke his leg. And he's just played fine ever since. But I don't know. I have the Jags winning 27-10. I think the Saints defense hold them off enough to where maybe the Saints take a 3-point lead, but then the Saints offense will not be able to do anything, and that Saints defense will start getting tired and trying to defend Travis Etienne and Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram, and you can't do that with a tired defense. So the Jaguars beat the Saints 27-10. And now we have the Lions going into Baltimore facing the Ravens. And the big story in this one, Jared Goff versus the Ravens defense. The Ravens defense has been on a tear the past couple weeks. I don't think they've allowed their opponent 20 points in the past 2-3 weeks. The Lions are a big challenge for the Ravens. I mean, they had to face the Titans, right? I love the Titans. Not a good offense. Not a good offense. And Ryan Tannehill got hurt, so the already not good offense, got worse. This is going to be a real test to see what this Ravens defense can actually do. And this Lions offense, this explosive Lions offense, could only put up 20 points on the best defenses they faced in the Buccaneers and the Falcons. The Falcons have a better defense than the Ravens, but I think the Buccaneers have equal defense to the Ravens. And also, a name to look out for. From what I last saw, David Montgomery is not going to play this game. He's going to be out a couple weeks. So Jahmyr Gibbs is looking healthy, looking like he is going to play and start in this game. Let's see what the kid can do. We're waiting on the explosion. You use your first round pick on him. You use the number 12 pick on Jahmyr Gibbs, and you've just said, oh yeah, he's going to be like a little receiving threat. No. Let's hope Jahmyr Gibbs pans out for the Lions, or they will be laughed at for that pick. Jack Campbell's working out good. Jack Campbell's playing good football for the Lions, the middle linebacker out of Iowa that they selected with their second first-round pick. Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't. So let's see what Jahmyr Gibbs can do. I do think, however, the Ravens get a late Justin Tucker field goal. I blinked. I thought I messed up his name. So I think the Ravens win this game 24-21. Now next, we have possibly the battle for the NFC South title. The Atlanta Falcons going into Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. Great defenses on each side. Better defenses than a lot of people probably thought, especially with the Falcons. We have Desmond Ridder versus Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield trying to revive his career in Tampa Bay. Desmond Ridder trying to shut up everybody who's saying that already not even into a full season of what is truly his rookie year, he should be gone. And a little fun fact, both teams lost to the Lions 20-6. Same score, same everything. So what do I think about this game? I think that this could be a very low scoring game, and I probably have the score too high, to be honest. But I think being that it is in Tampa Bay, being that Desmond Ritter is probably going to struggle, being that the Buccaneers have a decent run defense, and if Bijan Robinson is not going, this Falcons offense has a lot harder of a time. I think the Buccaneers win this game 25-17. I could see this being lower. I could see this going either way. This is definitely a game you should keep up with. In my next game, we have the Los Angeles Chargers going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me tell you something. The Chiefs are weak. I said this yesterday in my weekend recap. The Chiefs are a weak team. Now, we have our doubts. Almost every year it feels like, the Buccaneers dominated the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and everybody started playing their safeties really far back, so Tyreek couldn't outrun you, and the Chiefs' offense didn't look the same. And everybody was like, "Oh, they figured out Patrick Mahomes. They figured out the Chiefs. The Chiefs are over, and they were fine." Right? The next season, Tyreek went to Miami, and everybody was like, "Oh, Patrick lost to his number one receiver. Patrick's going to fall off. The Chiefs are going to fall off." Bam, they go and they win the Super Bowl. Right? Or I think the next season or 2 seasons after that. And then this season, Eric Bieniemy leaves to go be the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, who's probably going to end up their head coach next season, and their offense doesn't look as good. Now everybody's wondering, how much did Eric Bieniemy really? Because everybody was giving the credit of the offense to Andy Reid. Andy Reid's the guy, they said. Eric Bieniemy doesn't really do anything, they said. But Eric Bieniemy leaves, and this Chiefs offense does not look as good. And I did not mean to make this all about the Chiefs. But the Chargers defense is very For Brandon Staley to be a defensive-minded head coach, the Chargers defense is very and their offense is coming off a not-so-great performance against Dallas. Granted, Dallas is a good defense, but the Chiefs also have a very good defense, a very underrated defense. And the two factors that really play into this, it's in Arrowhead, and the Chiefs played on Thursday night, so they're going to have a lot longer to prepare for the Chargers than the Chargers have to prepare for the Chiefs. So I have the Chiefs winning 28-17. Now let's go. Possibly the game of the week. I hope is the game of the week, but two teams that are really hyped up that I don't believe in that much. And that is the Miami Dolphins going to Philly to face the Philadelphia Eagles. No matter my thought on who these teams actually are, these teams are still two very good teams, and this is obviously the game of the week. And let's talk about it. So the Dolphins defense is very okay. The Dolphins have an okay defense. I don't like it a whole lot, especially when they're talked about as a Super Bowl contender. I don't think their defense is good enough to really make the Dolphins a Super Bowl contender. The Eagles are coming off an embarrassing loss to the Jets. But that is because the Jets have a phenomenal defense and a Zach Wilson who is getting better, in which if the Jets just have a quarterback that can do enough to allow them to win, they will win 9 times out of 10. Jalen Hurts having a down season. Last time I checked, 7 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And the big matchup of this, the Dolphins have the 20th ranked rush defense. And Philly has the 2nd ranked rush offense. DeAndre Swift is back there. You still got Boston Scott. You still got Kenneth Gainwell. You have boys back there who can run the football. You have Jalen Hurts, who is still a very good runner of the football. And that's going to be huge. The Eagles can take the clock and they can drain half a quarter. They can drain half a quarter, but the Dolphins can score very quickly. And do the Eagles really have anybody that can run with Tyreek Hill, that can run with Jalen Waddle? And also, what's underrated about the Dolphins, they run the ball very well. Devon Achane, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, he's very good. He's hurt. So Raheem Mostert will be taking most of the snaps, but Raheem Mostert is very good. Raheem Mostert is very good. So just like the Eagles can drain a quarter, The Dolphins can score quick or they can score slow. And that is why I think the Dolphins win this game 30-20. So to recap my NFL picks, we have the Jaguars going over the Saints 27-10. We have the Ravens going over the Lions 24-21. We have the Buccaneers going over the Falcons 25-17. We have the Chiefs going over the Chargers 28-17. And we have the Dolphins going over the Eagles 30-20. Let me know what y'all picked. Let me know your favorite money lines. I'm starting to get into the gambling world, but I still don't quite understand it enough to make educated things on this podcast. Follow me on TikTok, Jackie Boy Sports. Follow me on Twitter. My personal is at JJester615. The show's is at Jackie Show. Email me questions, comments, concerns, topic ideas, whatever. OldJackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. And most of all, to get all the love, all the kisses, rate the show where you can. Share the show with your friends. Share the show on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you can. Really trying to grow this. I love each and every single one of you. Jackie's got a sports show, and this has been that sports show.